Okay, everybody, we are back. Welcome back to the Camp Time is Real Time podcast. I'm your host, Sarah. Today, we are joined by Brittany, and we are talking a lot about Sing. We are talking about S Club 7, and we are talking about Tom and a bunch of things. So, this was a good one. I wanted to let you know off the bat, as per usual, I was bragging about the setup and how blasé I was about it. And guess what? My audio sounds pretty terrible this week. So that's a little something for you to look forward to. Don't know what happened. You're not going to believe it. I'm not an audio engineer, so I couldn't fix it. So enjoy. The other thing I wanted to do is tell you guys, we have that email address, camptimefcdc@gmail.com. And I just wanted to read a listener email because I thought, it was important for you guys to hear it. So, all right, let me just pull one up here. Okay, cool. So this one is from no-reply@gmail.com. Hey there, looks like you've recently opened a Gmail account. Here are some tools to help you get started. And then there's a hyperlink. And then it says from your support team at Google. Okay. Yep. Oh, and that's it for emails. Okay. So we've got a great podcast. It was a lot of fun talking to Brittany, and I hope you'll enjoy it. Sorry about the audio.
Do they still call the groups tribes? I've been dying to know this.
Brittany, you've got to listen to the podcast.
Oh my God, I'm sorry.
Are you being serious right now? I feel like you're setting me up for the cold open.
No, not at all. Not at all, because I was thinking
They do not. The answer is, listeners who've been with us for 4 episodes now, thank you. More than my guest.
Words.
They do not. Repeat.
But then what do they call them?
Troops. Troop.
But what are their troop names?
Oh my God. I implore you to listen to the last episode. Sing in general wouldn't be typically like something that I would gravitate toward. Like even the activities that I was assigned, like the rotation I was on, right? I was like in games or adventure boating and stuff, like it was never like
don't forget the pool.
Yeah, well, yeah, that was later on. But Sing is just like it's its own different animal, right? And it's like it starts at orientation where Tom's like Sing is the glue that holds camp together. And I always remember it being something that I just kind of like bought into. And especially as you like kind of keep going there and you like more people and you're like, I don't know. Well, for me, like you try to like, that's where you can like make a name for yourself, right?
Yeah.
And like, so yeah, exactly. So what were your like go-to like Sing, like would you get up there and do stuff or what,
oh my gosh,
what would you do?
Okay. So I had a love-hate relationship with Sing because when I was younger, tenderfoot age, I remember being wicked bored, obviously, which is why I was like, I have to pee, even though I didn't. Sure. But then as I got older, I sort of saw Sing as like a gateway to fame, like local fame. So I remember having dreams, like literally like pumping myself up before I would go to bed at night and be like, tomorrow's the day that you're going to ask Tom if you can sing at Sing and like sing a song for everyone. And then I like wouldn't do it. And I'd be like, tomorrow's the day where you're going to go up to Tom and you're going to ask him, be so pumped. And I would like, I think the first song I sang was like the Star Spangled Banner in like, I don't know, 4th grade or something. Cause I was trying to think of like songs that I did on my own. And then once I finally did it, like went there straight up by myself and sang a song. I was so nervous. The best part about Sing is like, no matter what you do, people will cheer for you.
Yes.
And I can like vividly remember hearing you from the back being like, yeah, like that like classic Sarah cheer, and everyone just like hooting and hollering. And it was such a pump up. And I was so high off of that. I was like, I'm gonna do it again tomorrow.
Yeah.
And I remember talking to Tom again. He was like, didn't you go yesterday? Are you here next week? Are you here next session? Let's do it again. You know, trying to give other kids a chance. And
Right.
I remember being bummed, being like, but I'm ready.
Right.
I broke the ice. I'm ready to perform every day.
Yeah. Get a taste of it.
Yeah. And then the other thing too is then I very quickly was like, yeah, I'm gonna be famous. Like FCDC is my stepping stone. So I remember this is when NSYNC and Backstreet Boys were it. Like we had like during like, I don't know, like counselor competitions, we would have chants back and forth. It wasn't just like heads, assistants. It was like NSYNC stinks, like people going back and forth.
Oh my gosh.
So I was originally team Backstreet Boys and then switched,
Interesting. Okay. And
when I was obsessed with NSYNC, I remember again pumping myself up at night and having dreams and being like, I'm gonna get so famous this year, and next summer I'm gonna bring NSYNC to FCDC.
Oh, that would have been great. That would have
Right?
been great. Yeah. It would have been like, what is all this I want it that way business? But happy to be here.
And also that I thought that like that's how I would get famous. I would sing one song at camp.
Yep.
The local news would find me. I would start performing worldwide and become good enough friends with NSYNC that they would come to a camp in Franklin, Massachusetts.
Yeah.
And say hello.
I don't see any flaws. I'm going to be honest with you.
It was a solid plan.
I think that's good. Well, and did any of that have to do with when our good friend Katie, who was like the master of security at Great Woods, was at the NSYNC concert and got the sweaty towel from Justin Timberlake?
Yes.
And brought it in. And
do you remember when she gave it to you? She like called you up one day at Sing.
Yes. Oh, yes. Just only vaguely. Sorry, Katie. Yeah.
I remember because again, we were swooning over boy bands at this time.
Yeah.
And you were obsessed with NSYNC at this time too.
I know.
That is a character, right? And Katie, I remember her telling the whole story, and that like Justin Timberlake rudely threw his sweat towel and it like smacked Katie in the face. And then the other more main security, I don't know, somebody else was like, you can keep it if you give it to a big fan. And so she brought it to camp and she called you up. She made like a whole big deal about it, called you up and gave it to you. And I remember you took it in your hands and you were like sniffing it for the whole camp. I remember going home and being like, oh my God, Mom, Sarah got Justin Timberlake's sweat towel. And I was like, what? What is happening at camp?
Yeah. I think a lot of parents are like, what is happening at camp? Yeah.
So then I think it was later that summer. My birthday is August 16th. And I think it was on my birthday. It had to have been the same year because like, why would you bring it back to camp years later?
That'd be weird. Yeah.
You probably still had it in your bag.
I mean, honestly, within the realm of possibility, but let's hope it was the same year. Yeah.
And you gave it to me. And I was like, oh, I have Justin Timberlake's sweat towel.
Yeah, that's right.
I kept that thing until I moved out of my parents' house 6 years ago and moved in with my now husband.
In general, the thing that was awesome about Sing, it was like kind of twofold. There was like the performances on one hand, which we can get into, but then there was the just being in the crowd, which I loved because that's one of the things about camp that just like it's just part of the magic where you, for whatever reason, as a kid, like you're a kid, you're nervous to go up and sing, right? For whatever reason. But what you don't know is whatever it is you do up there, you are getting the biggest ovation you could ever expect in your life ever. And that's part of the fun, right? And it's almost when you have someone who it's very clearly their first time and they're nervous, like it's almost like a responsibility of the rest of the camp to make that response even louder than it would be. And it was just always something that like we never had to talk about that. Like everyone just knew to do it.
That's what the job was.
Yeah. Like someone's up there, like we're going to cheer disproportionately to the skill.
The talent.
Yeah. Like a knock joke from a junior camper, decibels louder.
I remember there was this I remember his name. I shouldn't say it, but I remember this one camper. There was like a car commercial that had the song "You Can't Always Get What You Want," and he got up at sing, and that was the only part he knew because it was a short commercial, and he sang that like 4 times over, and everyone was like, "You can't always get," just like going in on it with him. And then after like 10 rounds or something, Tom was like, "And cut, great job!" Like clap him off the stage. And that's the kind of stuff like this little kid heard a commercial. I mean, he couldn't have known that was a real song, right? Because he said, Tom was like, "How'd you learn that song?" He was like, "Oh, saw this car commercial." TV. Yeah, no, that was the best part.
There was one when they started like doing jokes or just like thoughts, not songs, but just like stuff more frequently. One kid went up and he did the Hump Day commercial, what is that, like an insurance commercial?
Yes.
And he just did the whole commercial like, "Hey Mikey, like he did the whole thing, and he couldn't have been more than like 6 or 7 years old, and it was hilarious. And that got some genuine laughs. But there was also one of my all-time favorite things was to speed up the tempo. If the song was taking too long, like I can remember sitting next to Shannon, and the two of us, both pretty loud in our own right, would just start singing it at like double time, like, we gotta keep this moving. This is not working. So sing's the best. And then like some of the stuff that like made it the glue, right? So the fact that that there was this one thing that the whole camp, or there were more than one thing, but the whole camp gathered every day. Like, I think that went a long way to make it feel like the family that it is, as opposed to just like, like a bunch of people at a place. But when you were a CIT, did you guys do the Hermie the worm?
Oh my God. Yes.
Yeah. That was like the first responsibility I'd say you were given as a counselor. Yeah.
I remember because they included campers in that too, and at like the end of the line.
Oh, did they?
Yeah, because I remember I got wet once, and
really
but they put us like all the way at the end. And then I remember being as a camper, I remember being like, how did this get to camp? Like, where did this come from? Like just amazed that something from Chinatown or whatever it was showed up to camp
China
that day.
Proper. Yeah, exactly.
Had no, like, I don't know, like that's part of the magic, right? Like you don't as a camper, you don't necessarily think about who's, the face behind Hermie.
Yeah.
And then I remember being a part of it and thinking like, these jugs are so heavy. Trying not to spill the water when you're standing on top. And the other thing too that's crazy about camp in general is there's so much stuff that we would do that was totally normal. Or like the oatmeal competition. Like I remember you loved oatmeal. We're definitely pumped for the competition in general.
Yeah, of course.
I never liked oatmeal, and that made it so much worse. And anytime you're like, "You don't like oatmeal?" I'm like, "You don't understand." Like explaining the whole competition, like we would get straddled in and then having like hose water to make the oatmeal.
Yeah.
And then
eating it. Yeah.
Baking in the sun, waiting for us to manipulate and then passing it. But like inevitably, it was all over your body, right? Like we would swim in the river counselors, swim in the river afterwards
Yeah.
to get all the oatmeal off. And like some of it went in my mouth one time. And I remember just being like, oh, but like
that's gross.
going through, like have to win the competition.
Wait, did you do it as a camper or
I was chosen as a camper and a counselor. I also participated a couple of years in a row. Tom chose me to be in the belly flop competition.
Oh, ouch. Yeah.
Not sure if it was because of my my weight or not, but
I'm gonna go ahead and say it was not.
I don't
know. It was not.
But then how funny. So like stuff like that was just like so cool and awesome. I mean, I was like a little bit chubbier. I was like, I was, I don't know.
Hold on. First of all, no, you weren't. Secondly, you think Tom was like, I'm gonna try to give a preteen girl a complex.
Probably not, but I don't know. I wish I could like go back.
Let's go with probably not.
Probably not. I wish I could go back and see like the other people that could have been chosen. Anyway, that's not what I'm trying to focus on. The point I'm trying to make here is that I was selected and it was awesome, and I thought I was wicked cool for like being chosen to be in the competition, right? Because you didn't have a choice.
Yeah.
It was just like cast upon you that Tom thought of you and wanted you a part of it. It was usually like the 6 weekers.
Yeah,
like,
it was a pre-interview to see if you could be a CIT. Absolutely.
Yeah. So then when I was graduating college, I don't know if you remember this, I applied for a contest in Australia and I tried to work there, and I had to make all these like entry videos and do all this different stuff. And when I was like, how old was I? 21 years old in college and trying to think of what I could do to impress people on the opposite side of the world. I remember I was like, oh, duh, I'm going to do a belly flop.
Did you really?
Oh my God. Have you never seen this video? I rounded up a bunch of my collegiate friends and got someone to record it, got a bunch of other people to belly flop with me. And I remember the contest was called the best jobs in the world, and I was like, belly flop for the best job in the world, and I just like went for it and did a belly flop, and then like did a slow-mo showing me like go all the way into the water, and got my friends to like jump in the water and stuff too. And I remember because I ended up being selected, like made it to the top and got flown down there or whatever, and they were like, we loved your belly flop video. And I was like, yeah, I used to do that at camp.
So I think a lot of people know this, but not everyone. It was called, right, the best job in the world, right? There were like a couple of contests I remember like this. And you got chosen. How far did you make it?
So there were 124,000 international applicants, and all but 2 countries were represented. And I made it to the top 25, and then I had to do like another round of competing and like press stuff. And then I made it to the top 3. So they flew me down, all expenses paid, to compete for this job. And I didn't get it, which is fine. But I went to Australia for free.
And I think that's a pretty good indictment that on FCDC's part, and be like, something that you used to get chosen out of 124,000 people. Was like, no, this is cool.
I did a belly flop and they liked me, and I went to Australia for free.
I forgot about that. That is really cool. I hope you have that on your resume, to be honest with you.
I do. I'm never going to take it off. It's a really good conversation. The other thing too, I think one of the coolest parts about FCDC was like the weirder and quirkier you were, the cooler and like more popular and well-known you were amongst camp.
Yeah.
And then like you just like wanted to know and be friends with that like weird person. And then you would go back to school and like people would be like those like quirky people, and you would think that they were cool, and they like weren't understood or respected and like made fun of at school. And I was like, but they're cool.
Yeah. There's one thing where, it was after I had gone, and I think it was like a social media post or something from someone. So a lot of good details so far. But the sentiment was like, basically like, take that like energy that you have here and the way you act here and like bring it out into the school year, into the world. And like, it'll be better, which is true. Because it is, right? Like, because you're right, it is celebrated. Like people that you just don't run in the same social circles during the off season,
Yeah.
but but it's
The off
totally
season.
yeah, exactly. But it's
True.
totally celebrated, and it's it's too bad that it doesn't work like that. But I remember the message being said, and I was like, it's so true. And if we could actually do that, oh man, wouldn't that be great? Tell me about S Club 7.
Oh my God. I had no idea what you were going to say. And that just filled my heart. So that is a kid appropriate song that I did play for my first graders last year. And you better believe they knew the words to it. Oh my gosh. In true camp fashion, we would just like interpretive dance what the
Yes.
lyrics were saying.
Yes, 100%. Yeah.
And then everyone got it. Like they would be able to quickly pick up on it because they were in tune to the moves you were doing as well.
Yeah, not a lot of brain power.
And so it was one of those things where I was like, I'm going to do this at Sing.
Yeah.
I like pumping myself up for it.
So my memory of S Club 7, this was perhaps the first time I was like, I do not know what this is. I do not understand what this music is. And you were up there with Nick, I believe.
Oh my God.
and you guys were like, we're going to do a song. We're going to do a CD. And we're like, all right. And
wait, do you remember the numbers though? Do you remember like that was one of those camp like things at Sing that you would be like, what number is it? Number 2. And everyone would like be like, oh, we haven't had a number 2.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
And then we were even more pumped. Yes, we're the first number 2 this summer. Like track 2.
Oh, that's funny. Yes. But I remember it going on. Oh my God, I forgot about that. Yeah, and we're like, oh, we got a 7 today. Yeah.
First one of the summer, 3rd session. What?
Oh, that's a riot. Yeah. I remember you guys going up. You're like, we're gonna do this CD song. And I'm like, all right. So you put it on, and I'm like, what is this? I've never heard this. And it was the very first time that I was like, ooh, I don't know this. Because up to that point, I was like, I am like a cool teen. I know all music.
Yeah. It wasn't that popular.
Well,
it wasn't really well known.
So it gets done. You and Nick do your interpretive dance, like patting your watch and never give up. And then Tom turns it off. He goes, hey, that's got a really good message. I like that song. And then, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think he was like, let's do it again. And he's like, really listen to the words. Yeah. And like, he was all in on it. And I was like, what is this music? Never heard it. But I recall that we heard it several more times.
So many times.
Yeah.
We did it. It was like we were an act. We went up like one session. Yeah. To just, send the good word of S Club throughout camp.
Tom all in on it. That song's got a really good message. Did everybody listen to the words? It was like, it was.
And what's so funny is it was just like a bop. Like we had no idea, right? Like I was saying before, like we would just sing whatever we like. We had no idea what any of the songs were about. We just liked the tune, and it was like a cool summer song.
Yeah, and I could tell you right now, I know all the words verbatim. I'm not gonna sing it, but and you know what? It is a good message. So
it is.
Never give up. I will say that like the big thing that that I still do in a big audience is if like you want to mostly like feel like you're helping the person who's up there, whatever they're doing. So you're like, oh, we're doing this like call and answer type thing, right? Even if it's not at all what they had intended. So whatever they're saying up there, like, oh yeah, like right?
Yeah.
And I'll do that too. Like you have to read the room to a certain extent, but like when you're like, I think I can help. Like I think making it kind of a like, oh yeah, like I will do that all the time. And I will say, if you go back to visit at camp during a sing, it comes back so quickly. Like, you're just like, oh, for sure. Like, it's
One of my favorite things was just like the, I don't know, unwritten response of whenever anyone would tell a joke, when they'd be like, knock, knock, and everyone would be like, who is there? Like, so excited. No matter, I remember this vividly of you, like hearing your voice in the crowd, like no matter what the joke was, no matter how it landed, whether it made sense or not, you would be like, like that person deserves to be so. They were brave. They stood up in front of an audience.
Yeah.
Their joke landed with at least one person, and unbeknownst to them, the whole camp was in on it.
Well, that's the thing too, because it's like that's the whole thing. If that joke doesn't go well, like who does it benefit, right? Like it's like the whole camp wins when everyone's happy about the joke, and that's the best thing about singing. And that's where like, you know, the first couple of days, if like someone would boo something and Tom would be like, we don't boo, like we just don't clap. But it's true. Like if you're like, hey, we're not doing anything negative, then your only levels are like good or like insane, which is what we would turn it up to. And it worked. Like it, I mean, obviously you can't do that entirely, but like it worked. And so it's like, you know, these silly, you know, these kids got up here and they're, you know, younger kids being brave, saying a joke that, you know, we all know is not going to be good, right? Like we all know.
Or we've heard 20 times.
that or the kid isn't even sure where it's going. He's like, he's got the knock knock, and then it's like, oh, we'll see what happens. And so what are we gonna make him feel bad?
Right.
And like it was just you're right. It was unwritten. It was like, here's the response, and everyone knew it. Like, this is what we're gonna do. So one thing that I do recall after I was gone, I feel like you became like the queen of ordering camp swag for the counselors. Like, I feel like you started that trend.
I did.
Did you?
I did.
Is that canon?
Oh my God, yes.
Yeah.
So that's so funny. I forgot that I did that. So yeah, I was just like, a staff shirt isn't enough. No. And like, I'm buying a camper shirt, but that's just a different color of the staff shirt. Right. And I'm more proud of the staff shirt.
Right.
And remember the year that you did the Cuse color staff shirts and you like blew Tom and Gail's mind? Everyone was like, what? Right. Like, what's going on? I don't remember why you did that, but.
So I will say, I don't fully remember. I have to get Katie Crowley on. So we did orange shirts one year, and we debuted them, I guess we'll say, the second session, the first day of the second session. So we all wore our staff shirts, and we all wore our orange shirts underneath.
Yes.
And it was going to be this great reveal. Like, Tom didn't know. We got him a shirt. He didn't know, and Gail didn't know because we didn't think we needed to run anything by Tom and Gail because, again, like, terrible counselors. And but we were like, this is going to be great. And I remember Erin, who was a Gail grandchild, I believe, was in the Algonquins, and she was going to start the intro session. And we're like, all right, Erin, she's cool. And we're like, all right, so here's what you're going to do. Like, you're going to start, be like, my name's Erin. And you're going to be like, change is something effect of like, change is good or change is hard or something. But like, only for today, we all like revealed that we were wearing like orange shirts. Do you remember that?
I'll never forget that.
Were you, how old were you when that?
I was, I think, a second year CIT.
Okay. Oh, okay. So you had one of those.
Oh, I have one. Okay. Oh, yeah.
And do you recall that we were basically like, you have no choice but to purchase one of these?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, no, it wasn't a choice.
Yeah.
But it didn't matter because we were like, oh, Sarah's asking us to do this. Okay, let's do it.
and honestly, it wouldn't have mattered if it were me. Like, we would have done it regardless. Like, when I started, we had to purchase our staff shirts. Is that?
I think we were just given one.
Yeah, no, we had to purchase ours. I believe they were $7. And when I was a CIT, they were like still coming in. So the first day of camp, I had to like wear just like a green shirt. Yeah. So my brother was a CIT a few years before me. So I believe I had his old one to wear. I can't remember, or I was looking for it. I couldn't, yeah, no, that was back in the day when we had to purchase our own staff shirts. But anyway, yeah, I remember that we were like, this is a thing we're going to do. It's going to be cool. And Katie was like, let's make them orange. And I was like, all right. She loves the color orange. It's fine. Went to Syracuse. I would have chosen yellow, but it's fine. So how did you, so I seem to, so I was gone. And then, I got word that you were,
swag.
Yeah, you were doing camp swag, and you were procuring some hoodies.
Yes.
And I had that white with green print hoodie for so long. I love that.
And I think it said staff on the back too, right?
I honestly don't remember. But
because I remember the green one, because I remember having that option, and I did just like forest green with white lettering.
Yeah.
And thinking, because sometimes it would be raining, it would be cold, but like they needed to identify us as counselors. And also, like the first day of a session, you really wanted to wear that shirt. We were like so proud to come to camp and wear that.
Yeah.
So, but I was like, I'm cold. Like we need other options, friends.
Yeah.
So we got hoodies. I also did long sleeve shirts.
Nice.
Like,
nice move.
What was it? I remember that it was navy. One of the options was navy. And I think Kelly asked for it. Okay. Kelly or Trisha asked for it. And I was like, I have to do it.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, also, absolutely.
I was into it.
Yeah. Oh yeah, 100%. So,
yeah.
So that tradition has continued on, and you
get out.
You pull up now, and counselors who've been there are decked out like head to toe, FCDC. Oh, absolutely. There's like a hoodie. I've seen it's like a zip up hoodie with like FC on the right side, DC on the left side. There are, the pool staff had like tank tops that's like Franklin Country Day Camp, and on the back it's either like pool staff or whatever. Kelly has a jacket that just says like FCDC Aquatics. Oh yeah, there's a lot of FCDC swag, and
so special.
I'm here for all of it. And like my question, like, what's the logistics of that? Is that like the first day you're like, we're doing sweatshirts, like get me your money so we can have these in like a week? Like,
well, now that I know that I was like the grassroots manager of this, I remember talking to Tom and just being like, hey, we want more swag. Mm-hmm. And he was like, okay, you can manage it. And I was like, all right, cool. And I was like, ask around, see if people are into it. And I don't know, word of like, it was,
everyone is into it, right? Did anyone not get it? I think that like, I do also though think like, and I do think when it was rainy, when you'd have an occasional rain day, not like the one session where it rained literally every day of the second session one year, but like you have a rain day. And I always did it was kind of a cool feeling, like driving in, like the lights were on the car, like it's raining out. And if you're just going to be in the tent for like an hour, that's ideal, right? Because it's forcing. But you also get to wear your off-season clothes, right? So you get to wear like, this is where you show off. You're like, oh, I see you're on the soccer team. Like, you know, because like the thing to wear in my mind anyway is like, let me show off like who I am outside of camp. Right. Yeah. So it's like, here's my, does that say varsity? I didn't even notice. Right. Like, so you
captain. Put that there.
So you got that. And like, you like anything, like I was decked out in like Holliston, like whatever sport. Yeah. And that was always kind of like a point of pride to be like, okay, like, oh, here's me, super cash. Didn't realize you noticed all this. Like, I'm pretty cool. I think I'm pretty cool. So that was always, because you know it. During the normal camp day, it's t-shirts and shorts. And also, I do remember working there. I was like keenly aware if I were somewhere and I was like, that's a cool t-shirt, I'm going to need to have that because I have like 30 days of like looking my best in t-shirts, right? Like it was definitely something I didn't not consider, I'd say.
Yeah.
So
The camp fashion social season.
absolutely. Yeah. It's just, a strange way to kind of flex.
Oh my gosh. Also, this is completely off topic, but I just thought of it because I thought of it today. There was one day that you went up to Tom when we were at Post and afternoon Post, and you just like sauntered up to him and you were like, hey, it's not a cloud in the sky. And you guys were just like chatting around, whatever. Next day at Sing, Tom has this whole speech and is like, I said to Gail, the first person to notice and tell me that there isn't a cloud in the sky today, I'm going to give a Butterfinger. And you got like a king size Butterfinger for it. And like, no joke, every single day of my life since then, since like early 2000s, every time I look up and there, so today I was at recess with my students and there wasn't a cloud in the sky. And I was like, gonna earn a Butterfinger for this observation. I'll never forget that.
But that's a Tom thing though. Like that's a direct, like, I'm certain I learned that from Tom. Like to be like, this is a beautiful day. Like, how lucky are we? Like, I'm certain of it, and I am certain that I got into just a groove of like my morning announcement would just be the weather. Like that was just like my thing for a few years. And like any like New Englander, I love the weather. I am on top of it all the time, like whatever. And it got into a thing where I was like, because there'd be like a chance of showers, whatever. I was like, I think they're going to wait till 4:05. I think we're going to be good. And it was like, I don't know, 9 times in 10, like we were okay. But it was this whole, like if you take the concept of like, act enthusiastic until you make it a habit, it's like, I don't know, just tell the weather it's going to be nice until it is. Like, and it's like, I definitely had some good conversations with Tom. Like I can remember like toward when I was like the last couple of years I was there, I remember
the end of your career.
The end of my career, I guess. Like I remember it was like the first or second day at camp, and I was on was at the pool, and it must have been like the kids were like getting out and getting changed, or I wasn't watching them. And I was just like standing by the fence on the inside of the pool where like the like part that goes right down to the offices. So like where kids like put their shoes on and stuff.
Yeah.
And Tom came up and he and I were talking, and I just remember being like, I'm so happy to be here. Like, I can't believe we're here. Like I'm like, I can't believe we're here. And it feels like we've always been here. And yet like, it's, we've been away for so long, and I'm so happy. Yeah. And it was like, that was the first place where it was like, I could articulate stuff like that, where like kind of like cheesy stuff, but like it meant a lot. And it was, you always knew that like Tom would get it. And it was just like, and he's like, yeah, I know. And it was just like, I don't know, it was the best. And so like, I'm sure that that whole weather thing being like, oh, this is a perfect day, I'm sure it came from him. Like years. Hard to beat boating, I will say. It is such a great activity. Like boating's awesome.
There's just so much to it. I don't know. Like,
did you were you allowed to catch turtles while you were there?
Yes.
Okay.
And not the campers though. The counselors.
Interesting.
Oh, okay. So the counselors were able to catch them, and then they would put them in the canoe, and the turtles would just like walk around the canoe. The snapping turtles would walk all around us. Yeah. And then when we'd come in, we'd have a race and like put them at the top, and then they would waddle their way down to see which one.
When I was a Mohican, so second oldest tribe, our head counselor was the boating head counselor. So literally every tribe time we went boating. Amazing. It was the best. And then we could catch turtles as campers back in the olden days. And so we would go, we had a set like our canoe, the 4 of us, and we'd catch turtles, and we were like, we're gonna catch 100 turtles this summer. And we did. We went boating so every single day. And I look back now and I'm like, that was the easiest summer for him. Like it was like tribe time, and we're like, can we get in the water? And he's like, of course. So, and oh my God, it was awesome. I cannot stress that enough.
That's
Love
so
boating.
cool.
Yeah.
I remember, is Mr. T still around? But we would always see, like, there was the legend of Mr. T, like the biggest turtle in the world, like lived at camp. But we would see a massive turtle. Like, obviously you would have like your little baby turtles and then your little medium-sized one. And then every now and then there was this like dinosaur of a turtle. Probably, I mean, how big is this? Like a foot long, maybe? Yeah. Doesn't sound that long, but for a reptile that
the other sun turtles. Yeah. It's huge. Yeah.
Enormous. And every now and then, and who knows if it was, I swear, saw it a couple times, not all the time.
I saw him a couple times. Yeah.
Yeah. And then at like flag would be like, we saw Mr. T.
Yeah.
Like tell the camp about it.
So it's not ever going to be exactly like it was when you were a camper for your, however, like 7 to 10 years you were there. But it's the same.
12, believe it or not.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
But it's the same. It's changed, but it's the same. And the energy is the same. The things that they do could be done when you were there. And it's different because it's, like it's 2021, like the times are different, but it is as much the same as it possibly could be. And that's like the secret sauce. Yeah. And like, and so it's like, I don't have that worry, that like, oh, it will skew how, whatever, like, I was, it's probably better. Things are better, but like it helps that it helps that there are a lot of the same people there to like carry on the tradition, but they like create that community that's like, this is how we do things. So it's awesome. And even if it's not the same as you remember it, you're also not the same. So it kind of has moved as you have. So I would not worry about that.
Okay.
Listen to the podcast.
I'm sorry, I only listened to one episode.
You will know so much more about camp.
I've listened to 1/3 of all episodes that have been created so far. So do you remember the summer of 99 when you boycotted doing any skits after campfires, and you did every like group of kids that you had, you taught them the dance to "It's Tearing Up My Heart" by NSYNC. And I remember by like the 4th week, Tom was like seething in a Tom sort of way, where he was smiling and it was like, this is funny, and also you need to create something else. I have a confession of how I remember though, and I wonder, maybe Kat already said this to you. Probably. That year, John Crowley was the video counselor, and Greg Bell was his assistant, and he sold the camp video on VHS. Yes. And my mom bought it.
Yeah, $20.
So this is one of our most treasured VHSs in our home. We'll never get rid of it.
Still have it?
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. My parents' basement. We don't have a VHS player that works anymore. But we have the tape.
Yeah.
And when was the last time I watched it? The last time I used to watch all the time.
Yeah.
You know, when you're little, you just watch the same thing over and over and over and over and over again. It's not so different now. I guess I watch The Office over and over.
That's true. Yeah. You know what? It was a precursor to our bingeable ways. Yeah.
But yeah, I think the last time I watched it was in like late high school, like maybe my junior year. Okay. And there's sometimes I wonder, it's like, is it something that I remember, or do I remember it because I've watched it so many times? So like, I don't think I don't remember it actually happening at camp. I remember John Crowley showing like every session, all your different themed outfits that you did, the same dance, same song. And it was like, one more time, last time. And then like each week, you did the same thing over and over again, which was, I mean, the joke worked. And all the kids knew the dance.
I get it about the videos because when I used to babysit Jack and Michael Cowell, the best part of that gig, aside from like kind of proving yourself to Tom in the off season, was once the kids would go to sleep, Tom had all of the years, all of the videos. And so the kids would go to sleep and I was like, here we go. And I'd go for like all of the counselor videos I could fit in the time they were gone. And yep. And I remember watching one 1996 week 2. The music video was a Counting Crows song, Einstein on the Beach, which is like one of my favorite songs of all time. Mm-hmm. I'm sure because of the camp like nexus. And I think I watched the music portion of that camp video like 15 times in a row, probably. Yeah. And like, I could tell you like every song on the video, like each week, what the opening song was. And then like curated, like all of a sudden I'm like, oh, this is my music taste too. Right. Cause like, this is what the counselors think is cool. Me too. And like, I could tell you like what some of the skits were. Oh yeah, no, that's a thing. Like there's no reason I should remember stuff like that much detail, but I watched it on those videos.
What you're saying, like what the counselor's taste was became like your taste. Like I remember one summer you guys were like, probably for longer than this, but for sure this summer you were all into Dispatch. Remember, like you and Greg and like maybe it was Katie Crowley too. I forget. Yeah, you guys did like the whole like the general dance. And then I remember I was in middle school. I think I was in 6th grade the summer or I went 6th grade after that. The summer that that was popular. And I remember it was like one of the first weeks of school and we were in our like homeroom with our advisor or whatever it was. And we were all getting to know each other. They were like, bring in one of your favorite songs. And I was like, oh yeah, I really love Dispatch. And like played the general. And they were like, wow, you really like, I was like, love this music. I absolutely love it. And I did. I loved it because you guys loved it. And it was just like part of camp and part of the culture.
As a counselor, like it is one of those things that they kind of impressed upon us at orientation. Like kids are watching. Every single thing you do and say matters. And that's sometimes hard because you yourself are a kid when you're working there for the most part, that it doesn't really ring true, but like everything you do, someone else is watching and emulating and being like, no, that's my favorite thing. So it's
like when technology became a thing, not that it ever wasn't, but when everyone started getting cell phones, like when campers had cell phones, it wasn't just the counselors that Gail was like, have you already talked about this? And are you upset at me?
Brittany.
It just, everything changed, right?